Hey everybody, and welcome to your Physics 1105 lab here at Randolph College. This is our Physics 1 laboratory, an algebra-based course. Okay, so let's get started. I wanted to make this video to help you get going in the course. What you're looking at now on my screen is the Moodle page for our course. Now, to get into the Moodle page, you just type moodle.randolphcollege.edu. See here? And then when you push enter on this, it'll bring you to a login screen, and you're going to need your Randolph College login. Now, if you haven't gotten into your Randolph College email yet or anything, and you don't know how to do that, then make sure that you call our help desk at 434-947-8000 and ask for the IT help desk, and they'll help you get in. All right, so let's take a look at the course on the Moodle page. All right, so this is how this course works. There is a syllabus and a lab manual site. So if I click on this, and I can say, well, I'm going to just click on it here, and now I'll say open in a new tab. That makes it a little easier. And I can see that there's a whole syllabus here, all the ins and outs of the labs, but also there's all of the manuals, and they will be linked to in every section. So they're all of the manuals to tell you exactly what to do for your lab as we go through. Okay, so let me go back to our Moodle page, and we'll take a look at everything. Okay, so first of all, there is a calendar here that you should print out and consult. If you don't like to print stuff out, I do, but put it on your wall or on your bulletin board. And it should help you know when things are due. So this class is asynchronous. That means that you can do your labs, and you should be able to do them at home, where you're going to have a lab kit in the next couple of days. And you should be able to do them wherever you are, right? But you don't have to sit in a lab on Zoom or anything with us. But there are deadlines, okay? So for instance, class is starting on Monday the 20th. And the first thing that you'll have to do is a pre-lab, and it's just a quiz. I'll show it to you in a minute, just to get you started thinking about the lab. And then there's in green here. So whenever you see a green text, it's the suggested day to actually do the lab activity. You don't have to do it that day, but if you do, you'll keep yourself better on track, right? Or if you start it then, right, you're going to be better on track. Because right after that, you can see lab 2 pre-activity is due, right? All right, now the first lab is a special lab because we're going to have an individual oral report on Zoom. There's a scheduling app link down below here. I'll show it to you in a minute. And you're going to schedule an individual meeting with me at your own. I have a bunch of times available. Hopefully there's enough times for everyone to have the one that they like. And it's not a grilling or anything, right? I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about the lab, and maybe we can, get to know each other a little bit. And then if there's anything that I see that you're not doing right, we're going to kind of nip that in the bud so that when you move on, you'll do a little better job. But it's the only time we're going to have something that you have to be on Zoom. But again, it's something you can schedule so that with your own time scale in mind. Okay. But we need to, it says this is due, but we're going to be having appointments all through this time. So this is kind of just to show you, like, there is something, and it's an oral report. Okay. But let's go through here. You can see, let's look at lab 2 for a second. So lab 2 has a pre-activity. And then there is something due on May 30th, and it says informal. What that means is that lab 2 has a quiz attached to it. So that means you're going to get onto Moodle and you're going to do a quiz. It's not a formal lab report. Okay. There are formal lab reports. And for instance, lab 3 is the first formal lab report that you have. And there's a quiz about how to do a lab report. There's the rubric. There's lots of information about what you're supposed to include, okay, and how to do that right. And so if you look through, you'll see there's informal labs and written labs, right, kind of interspersed here. Okay. And actually, I think this says formal. I think lab 9 is not informal, so I will change that. Anyway, let's look down. So first of all, you see the Zoom link for me. It's always the same link. Okay, so it's always the same number to get onto my Zoom. And then there are the lab kits. So there's a formal lab rubric, which you can see for that lab 3, right? But there's the contents of a lab kit. Now you should be getting the lab kit, between Monday and Friday of this week. And the first few labs don't require the lab kit. Okay. We do that on purpose because it takes a while to get those out. Now, but when you get that lab kit, I need you to go to one of these. Now, if you are only taking 1105, you click on this link, right? If you're taking both 1105 and then 1106 in the next session, click on this link because your lab kit will be different. Okay. And I need you to make sure that you have all the pieces. You want to make sure as early as possible because you don't want to get to a lab and, lab 7 and be like, oh no, I am missing whatever it is, right? Because then that's going to delay you in actually doing that lab. So make sure you have it now. As soon as you get that kit, come on here and look through and check it all off for yourself. And email me right away if there's anything missing, okay? Or if you have questions, you're like, I'm not sure if I got this or not, right? Okay, all right, so do that. And then the other thing to point out here is my contact information. Now, best thing, there's office hours, right, on Zoom. Come or not come, it's up to you. But there's contact information for me. Email is good. I put my cell phone on here. Text is best because, you call someone and I'm in a meeting, I can't answer. However, I have been known to answer a text in a meeting. So anyway, texting is good. If you text me or call me after 9, I may not get back to you till the next day. Okay. Eastern time, that is. I know some of you are in California. So, all right, let's take a look at what one lab section would look like. So notice it's in its own section and it tells you what kind of lab it is. It tells you, do you need the lab kit? Okay, that's helpful, right? And then a to-do list. Now, this first lab has a bunch of other stuff kind of stuck in there because we want you to understand like how to use Excel and some statistics stuff and all that. So there's a bunch of little quizzes here that have videos embedded in them to help you understand statistics and all the things that you need to know to move forward. So this first time is a little busy. So notice that you have stuff to do right away, right? Class starts on the 20th. You have these things due on the 22nd. So you got to get started, right? These are not long, but you don't want to be like, oh no, right? It's close to midnight on the 22nd and I haven't done all this, right? So make sure you've done all this. And then here's the link to schedule that oral report with me. Okay. And there's always a question forum, my bad, for you to ask questions of other students. Now, usually I don't look at that question forum because if you want to ask a question for me, you would text me or email me, okay? I would stay away from trying to contact me through Moodle. Moodle is not great at telling me when someone's tried to contact me. That would be nice if they did do that, but they don't. So just text, that's probably the best way, or email and ask me questions. But this is really a forum for students to ask questions of each other, okay? All right, and down here is just a grading thing. You probably won't see that. So once I'm done grading, you won't see this part, but you can go look at what I gave you on the oral report. I also will tell you at the end of your oral report meeting what you got on that report. Okay, and then here's a more typical lab, okay? It doesn't have a bunch of extra stuff. So here's motion and error. You do not need a lab kit. It's informal. And it has a few things. It's a little checklist. You can see that it has a pre-lab that's due on the 26th. And then it has an informal report quiz that's due on the 30th. So this is kind of a more, general thing. And notice that we have a link to the manual. I'll show you that link and I will open this in another tab. I suggest you always do that because it can be confusing if you don't. Okay, so let me show you that. So for instance, here is motion and error, and it tells you what to do. There's all these little things like, okay, how do you do a straight line fit and things like that in here that you need to know. And then there's the pre-lab, but you notice in the pre-lab is going to tell you to go do this on Moodle, right? It's nothing that it's just the same thing that's in the pre-lab is here. Okay. And then there's the procedure, what to do. Okay, pretty detailed. And the analysis, Post labs are usually questions if there's anything. If there's anything, it'll be on Moodle or you can answer it in your lab manual. I don't usually look at this too much. So if there's a post lab, I would answer it for your own self, right? Like think about what you've learned and answer it. I'm not going to grade if you've got this post lab in your lab manual or not. Okay, just FYI. This question, although, might show up in the actual quiz for the informal lab. All right, so we're going to go back to our site, but this is kind of the general form of how the labs will work. And here's lab 3, your first informal, and I want you to notice, well, there's a thing about how to download your Logger Pro that you might need. And then there's some extra data in case the simulation that we're using doesn't work, etc. Okay. And then the other thing here is that there's this quiz, there's the formal lab write-up guidelines, because this is your first formal lab, and then a quiz to make sure you understand those, because a lot of students get points off of these labs and for no good reason, right? So just make sure that you really read those guidelines. Okay. And remember, there's the formal lab rubric at the top that you can look at and see, how am I going to grade you? Okay. All right. So this is pretty much how it goes. Now we only have, let's see, I think it's 10 labs, and that's the end of the course. You can work ahead if you want. If you want to spend a bunch of time and do all the labs in 1 week, that's fine with me, of course. Try not to be late on your labs. Email me if you're going to be late. Just be aware that right around the middle of the course, we'll be submitting midterm grades. And, let's say, that you're going to be on vacation for the first 2 weeks and you just can't do anything. And then when you come back, you're going to do a bunch of work. Your midterm grade's going to reflect that. That midterm grade doesn't go anywhere. It's all internal. It's like just for you to be like, oh, this is what's going on, right, in the class. So it's not going to affect your final grade. So if you didn't turn anything in, please don't do this, but didn't turn anything in until after that, and you'll still can get an A in the class, right? Just FYI. All right, so don't freak out about that, but just remember that I have to actually turn those in, but they don't, it's not like it's set in stone, okay, for that. Anyway, I think that's all I need to tell you. I want to stress that when you get that lab kit, and if you don't get the lab kit within this first week, right, May 20th to the 24th, right? I think that's the 24th. It's coming up here. Let's see. Where is this? Let me just take a look, because I'm looking at a different thing now. Okay. Yeah, the 24th. If you don't get it, then you need to email me, okay? Because something went wrong. I have the tracking numbers for all of your lab kits. Okay. So if you don't get the lab kit, email me. When you get that lab kit, make sure that you're coming here in this area here and making sure you have everything that's listed, okay? All right. Well, I think that's all I need to tell you. I hope that you go and get started and you have a good time in class. Email me with any questions or problems. Okay, well, again, hope you enjoy the class. I'm Professor Schenk. Talk to you or see you in your oral lab report if I don't see you or hear from you sooner.